Hi, welcome back to Your Checkup. We are the patient-facing medical podcast where we bring conversations from the doctor's office to your ears. On this podcast, we try to bring medicine closer to its patients. I'm Ed Dulesky, a family medicine resident in the Philadelphia area.
And I'm Nicole Rufo. I'm a nurse.
And we are so excited that you can be here with us again today. We really are trying to emphasize that we are like a health class for people who are not in grade school anymore. And the health class just happens to be taught by a doctor and a nurse. So we are really looking forward to having you here today. We're trying to include a hot take in one of our episodes here to get started, just to warm things up. Nicole, do you have a hot take?
Nicole.
So will you call me Ed? And I find that shocking. So who is Nicole? But
don't know her.
But what's your hot take? It's kind of related to this episode.
It is. And I just came up with this hot take approximately 3 minutes ago.
And that's great.
Because we're talking about the 4-month-old today. And, you know, I do think a 4-month-old is a little boring.
Sure.
Still.
Yep.
I prefer an 8-month-old because I think that's when they get fun.
Okay.
Personally.
But that's good to know.
But, you know, 4-month-olds.
But that doesn't.
You're probably getting a little cuter, though. You're out of your, like, newborn alien look.
Great. And we're going to try to keep this episode lively and entertaining because we want to be consistent. So far, we've done the newborn and the first checkup. We've done for our next pediatric visit, the 2-month-old checkup. And we're going to keep marching along through at least the first year to see what the 4-month-old has in store, where we're going to talk about interval concerns, some safety things, milestones to look forward to, and vaccines. So in terms of interval concerns, what sorts of things can you... Oh, and our intern, almost
Ollie.
seemingly on cue,
Come
has
here,
made an
bud.
appearance. Truthfully, he is around for moral support. And
He is.
he doesn't know the software.
He doesn't know any of the topics of interest.
But we love him.
And he's so cute.
And he's so cute, and we keep him on staff anyway.
Come here.
He actually has a good security from the thin door that is from us in the streets.
That's questionably falling apart.
Okay, so let's get started.
Thanks, Wansu.
A car seat. Is a car seat for a 4-month-old normal? Is it front facing? Is it rear facing? What's going on with the car seat?
So the 4-month-old is still in a car seat, as one may imagine, and still rear facing.
Okay. Where is a 4-month-old sleeping at night? On their belly, on their back? Are we still doing safe sleep?
Well, if your 4-month-old can roll over, they're probably rolling over onto their side.
Okay.
But we're still putting them on their back to go to sleep.
Great. And talk to me about a home's water heater. This is something that maybe isn't talked about a lot.
Oh, yeah. So seems kind of random, but it has a purpose.
Yeah.
The water heater in your house should be set at or below 120 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 59 degrees Celsius. Obviously, because that water directly affects the temperature of the bath, and like scald burns are actually a lot more common in infants than you would think. So, and what you might like, I like to burn my skin off in the shower, and I would love to like dip into a burning hot bath and just soak my body in that, but a baby can't tolerate that, and they will get burned.
Yeah, so you have to make sure your water heater is set to the right temperature. That's a safety consideration here. You mentioned rolling over. That's has to be somehow related to safety. I can only imagine that a baby is like on a changing table and now has the ability to roll over. If they're a wriggly little guy, that they can kind of move over to the side and then take a little tumble, which may not be great.
Yeah, so a 4-month-old will start to roll over. It's not like one of those crazy milestones. Some 4-month-olds don't roll over, but they're not just like, they're moving a lot more. They're not just a full blob sitting next to you. They're moving some more. So they will eventually start to roll over and
Mobile
just
blob.
be more mindful of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
My dad let all three of us roll off the changing table.
it's okay. My dad dropped at most of us. So
We turned out fine.
yeah, I think we're doing okay.
Fine.
So then there are also some conversations starting about exploring other food options. We have a great episode in case you're a new parent or yourself, a loved one, or a neighbor is an infant that you can refer back to where we explore eating and pooping in the early days. But right around 4 months, the pediatrician may start to prompt you to think about exploring other foods. But those are dependent on the milestones that the baby's hitting and hunger cues. It's an individual decision for each of them. At this point, at each one of these visits, some time is spent to assess the baby's development. As a reminder from the CDC, which are the milestones that we're using to go over today, 75% of babies are meant to hit these milestones at the time that we discuss. And today, 75% of babies should be able to do these things. That does not mean that you sound the alarm, but it's something you take note of and perhaps inquire with the pediatrician if there are other options, including early intervention, which we're going to do a whole episode on at some point. Okay, so discussing some milestones. The first category that we'll go over are social and emotional milestones. What are 75% of babies of 4-month-olds doing at this point?
So most of them are smiling on their own. They're like looking at you, kind of like, yeah, I guess still like smiling, interacting with you more so that way. This is when you can kind of start to make them laugh or, a little baby chuckle, because they're still, a 4-month-old is still so little, but you can kind of start to do that.
Wonderful. So then moving on from that, what are language and communication milestones that a 4-month-old is doing?
A 4-month-old, around this time is when they're going to start to coo and kind of like find their voice, I guess you could say. It's like when they find their hands, they find their voice. They might start like imitating sounds, not fully imitating, obviously, but like you make a noise and then they kind of...
Like a parrot.
Yeah. Make a noise back, make a baby noise back. And they will like turn their head to the sound of your voice. Like if they hear you and you're not directly in front of them, they'll look for you or they'll look at you, track you more, things like that.
I have to ask them, but my Aunt Amy and Uncle Brian had a bird, and I can't remember if it was a parakeet or a parrot. Do both of them repeat what they hear? More at 11.
I don't know.
So then moving along, we have thinking milestones, learning, problem solving. We call this cognitive milestones. So what sorts of milestones cognitively do we see in a 4-month-old?
So again, like I briefly said with like finding your voice, this is around the time when they'll start to like find their hands and you'll see them kind of do like a fist thing, looking at them, touching things, grabbing things. It's like, that's kind of cute. They like just realize that their hands are there. And then another example of cognitive milestones are when they're hungry, they will like open their mouth when they like see the formula or the boob coming at their face.
Awesome. And then in terms of movement and physical development, what are we seeing there?
So now is when your baby becomes a little more sturdy and they have more neck strength, better head control is starting, so now you can kind of start to like hold them up maybe like on your hip a little bit. You don't have to be so careful with holding their head. You still do have to be careful, but they're getting a little more stronger, a little more sturdy. And they can, again, going along with finding their hands, they're grabbing things, they're holding on to them. If you give them something, again, with the hands, they're swinging more, they're just using their hands more. And this is when they're going to start having something in their hand and putting it directly to their mouth, because that's kind of, the thing they do. And more so along with, having more strength when they're doing that tummy time and getting those neck muscles nice and strong.
Good neck.
They're thick neck.
Thick.
They can, this is when they'll start to push up on their like elbows or forearms, doing a little baby push up during tummy time.
That's awesome. Wonderful. So those are all of them. We break them down into social, language, cognitive, and movement milestones. And that's what a 4-month-old should be able to do.
All right, Dulesky. Are 4-month-olds getting any vaccines at this visit?
They are. Yep.
What are they?
So it's a big continuation of all of the vaccines that a 2-month-old gets, which is good news because once you understand what happened at the 2-month-old visit, you understand what's happening at the 4-month-old visit. So all in all, we still maintain that vaccines are incredibly important and life-saving medical advances that should be used. But to that end, babies who are 4 months old will be getting their second rotavirus vaccine. They will be getting their second diphtheria, tetanus, and acellular pertussis vaccine, otherwise the acronym for DTaP. They will be getting Haemophilus influenza for the second time, the Haemophilus influenza vaccine for the second time, otherwise seen as HIB, big H, little I, little b. They will be getting their second PCV vaccine, which is short for pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, which has different proteins that allow babies to get immunity from different pneumonia-causing bacteria. And they will be getting their second inactivated polio vaccine, otherwise known as IPV, which helps prevent polio, which is never good.
Never good.
And that's about all we have for a 4-month-old visit. We've discussed different topics that come up that are outside of milestones and vaccines, which we also discussed today. And we're so happy you were able to come back with us again today for another episode of Your Checkup. Please check out our website. It is live, and we're happy for you to go check that out. If you're able to find a link on there to support the show, we would be deeply appreciative of any support that you could give us. It's not a free effort. We love to do it for sure. And I'm, have Nikki here doing this with me on weekends, but
Yeah, I'm not even getting paid for this.
But, some of the software isn't exactly free. So if you are able to offer any sort of support, we would deeply appreciate that. You can find a link on the website to do so. And see our Instagram. We're trying to put some stuff together for you guys, some short materials to catch up on the major points that we discuss here at Your Checkup. And we hope that today you were able to learn something about health for yourself, a loved one, or a neighbor if they're a 4-month-old.
You might have a 4-month-old neighbor.
You very well might. And most importantly, stay healthy, my friends. I'm Ed Dulesky.
I'm Nicole Rufo.
Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.
This information may provide a brief overview of diagnosis, treatment, and medications. It's not exhaustive and is a tool to help you understand potential options about your health. It doesn't cover all details about conditions, treatments, or medications for a specific person. This is not medical advice or an attempt to substitute medical advice. You should contact a healthcare provider for personalized guidance based on your unique circumstances. We explicitly disclaim any liability relating to the information given or its use. This content doesn't endorse any treatments or medications for a specific patient. Always talk to your healthcare provider for complete information tailored to you. In short, I'm not your doctor.
I am not your nurse.
And make sure you go get your own checkup with your own personal doctor.